Welcome back. You're still watching The Globe. Now, in fulfilling its mandate, the International Criminal Court has been the arbitrator in matters of international justice. This week, prosecutors at the court are looking to get the ICC to appeal its decision to acquit Laurent Gbagbo, the former president of Ivory Coast, who was acquitted of war crimes in 2019. Over its existence, the ICC has faced both condemnation and praise on how it's been conducting its business and the implications of decisions made there. African analyst Izak Khomo joins us now via Skype for some insights into the ICC and in particular the case of former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo. He's in Johannesburg. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Hello there.
All right, so developments taking place at the ICC. We saw Jean-Pierre Bemba acquitted, and now we saw Laurent Gbagbo acquitted. What does that tell us about the ICC, if anything?
Well, with the acquittals, it tells us a lot. It means that they've not got their act together. And again, I'm thinking about the ICC. It is being literally accused of being a political tool of those in power, and that's just been proven right now. It's more of a therefore political expediency than anything else.
All right. I mean, it is interesting that you've got one arm of the ICC appealing a decision of the ICC. We don't quite know how to process that. Could there have been problems in the initial prosecution that the prosecutor now, Bensouda, might be able to convince the acquittals to be reversed?
Well, you see, with the ICC, you've got to actually take it historically, and that's the Gbagbo case, and you know where it starts. It starts with the former prosecutor, where he was actually given Gbagbo by the French, and he was told to prosecute him. So the first thing Ocampo had to do before he retired was to actually initiate an investigation. The ICC never had any facts, and the French gave the ICC money to carry out the prosecution. Now, in the whole issue, what happened was that in the first pre-trial, when the ICC took the case to the judge for a pre-trial, the judges said that there was no case, there's no substantial case that Gbagbo had to answer. So they had to go back and look for more evidence. And it was on the second and third time that's when they said, now there is substance in which the trial can start. But now the thing is this, that during the trial, all witnesses who were called by the ICC, these are ICC witnesses, under cross-examination, they bogged down, they contradicted themselves, and some said that this is what they were told to say by the prosecution. So their evidence could not be taken. So that was the case. So the case for the ICC collapsed. When the ICC finished its case, the prosecution, they asked for time to bring in more witnesses, where the judge says, but we've given you time and we cannot. It's time now for the defense. But when they summed up the case of the prosecution, they found that they had no case. Gbagbo had no case to answer. So they dismissed the case.
All right.
Without even Gbagbo having to defend himself, Gbagbo and his fellow accused. So that was the situation. The ICC had a very weak case.
All right. So the difficulty that people in Ivory Coast, the difficulty that people in Ivory Coast will have is that more than 3,000 people lost their lives. There was a civil war, and then especially around the elections and post the elections, there was pro-Ouattara forces, pro-Gbagbo forces fighting each other. People got killed. Is it that they don't know who to blame? Is it that they can't link it to particular people? Because surely they were acting under someone's direction.
No, you see, the case again now, I do not start with the issue of the fighting. Now, if you come to the fighting, I won't say what happened, but I'll go to to the internal Ivorian investigation. They had something like Truth and Reconciliation. And in the whole investigation, it was found out that, number one, Gbagbo's forces never started the war. That's one thing. They never started the fighting. The fighting was started by the Ouattara people and the French. Number two, over 80% of the atrocities were done by Ouattara's forces, and none of them has been taken to the ICC. Now, that was the thing they said, but now what is this all about? And the French, they also have the evidence that they were actually involved in war crimes, but they're not there. So you find that the whole thing, it was just a way of getting Gbagbo out of the way. And even now, people are accusing the ICC of being complicit with the French in that they're delaying this appeal so that the elections, which are due in October, are held and they move on without Gbagbo. Yeah, and there are moves to actually isolate Gbagbo from the politics, because the government in power of Ouattara, they've already sentenced Gbagbo to 20 years imprisonment in an event that he's actually freed by the ICC. The minute he lands in Ivory Coast, he'll be jailed for 20 years. And that is with other political opponents like Guam Soro. He has got a 20-year sentence. So you find that there's a lot of chicanery, and the ICC is being involved, immersed in this whole thing. In this case, it was not Gbagbo who was on trial, it was the ICC, and they've been found guilty.
And when we consider, as you were talking about atrocities, I mean, Dwekwe comes to mind for me, where I think more than 1,000 people were killed. And it doesn't seem as if people that were responsible there came before the ICC at all.
That's the issue. I mean to say that the people who are supposed to be in there are Guam Soro and his forces. Yeah, 3,000 people were killed. They started the fighting, and that is on record. It's not that this is what I am saying. It is what the internal investigation, the Ivorian investigation, came up with. That the majority, the major part of the atrocities and the war crimes were perpetrated by the Guam Soros, the Ouattara forces. But now that, they're very silent about that. They actually did take some generals and they actually put them on trial internally. But that was it. There's nothing much that we can hear. Gbagbo's wife was also implicated. And she was sentenced, I think, to another 20 years, but they had to release her from public outcry. So you find that this is what's happening now is what they call the lawfare. When they talk of lawfare, it's like welfare and prison fare. Now the the judiciary is being used to silence and to put away political opponents, for political expediency.
Right.
It is a thing that is actually noticed.
So we've run out of time, but perhaps very briefly, then whose hand do you think is putting on the most pressure if the ICC is actually under influence?
Well, it's the French. I mean to say that the ICC never started investigating Gbagbo. It was the French when they actually arrested him. They took him to the ICC and they gave him to Ocampo. And they said that try cases against this guy. And the ICC didn't have a case then. They had to investigate. They had no money. The French gave them money. And right now you find that even with this whole appeal, it's been delayed. It was delayed to let the election process in Ivory Coast to come up and go. The elections are in October. So basically, Gbagbo is being sidelined and cannot take part in the whole thing. But the issue about Ivory Coast is that the French, they want to continue with their stranglehold and their suzerainty over that country. They will not allow anybody to come in there who is going to come and have a different thing from the Franco-African relationship, which is there in Ivory Coast. That's a known fact.
Izak Khomo, we're going to have to leave it there, but I think we're going to have another conversation about Côte d'Ivoire. It's very complex and quite a long history as well that we need to unpack. But thanks so much indeed for your insights today.